Welcome back to We Still Like Each Other, the podcast. I'm Travis.
And I'm Stephanie.
And this is the podcast where we show that the honeymoon stage can last forever.
And ever and ever.
What up, baby?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What up?
I just feel like I have a blazer on. I'm holding a cup of coffee.
Like a news anchor?
Yes. Okay. I feel like I'm about to bring breaking news to you. Do we have any breaking news this week?
We still like each other.
Yeah, we do.
Breaking news? No, not yet. It's pretty.
Not yet. We might have some breaking news in the near future, but
keeping that one close to the chest
for now until things, happen. But how have you been? How was your week?
Good week. Going to the office every day.
I was gonna say I'm stressed about that.
Yeah, it's just a lot of changes in the office. I think I'll eventually be able to go back to working remotely a few days a week. But for now, I gotta be there.
Yeah, 5 days a week, which means I don't get to get my extra couple hours of sleep in the morning. River's still not sleeping through the night. So having you home those 2 days was like critical. Now I'm like so sleepy all the time.
You got this. Women always get it done.
Oh gosh. Anyway, we went out last night. We had mommy and daddy's night out. Yes. For the first time.
Shout out to your mom. Came through, babysit.
Yes, my mom was babysitting here in our home, which is always nice. But with that, with having mom and dad's night out, we made a big change. Oh gosh, Travis. So we introduced River to formula for the first time yesterday. Oh God, Travis is judging me.
Pain. I'm not judging you because at the end of the day, it's your body, your choice, as you know the saying. And like I said to you when you even brought up the topic, I want you to do what's best for your mental. I don't want you stressing about breastfeeding. I think, you've been doing a lot of reading on it. And scientifically, I don't think there's anything that shows one's better than the other. It's just on your personal preference and your lifestyle.
So I would say that there's been research and there is evidence that shows that breastfed children have slightly less chances of, let's say, getting an ear infection or something like that, but is not statistically significant to make one way better than the other, right? It's like breastfed children have one less ear infection compared to children who are formula fed.
The margin is so small.
And that doesn't even mean that that's the case for your kid. That's just like when all the data is put together, that's the consensus. So there is proof that shows technically that breastfed kids have a slight advantage, but it does not outweigh you considering what's best for you and your family, right? So if you're a working mom, I'm gonna risk that my kid might have one extra ear infection if formula feeding is just way more convenient and just makes more sense for my family, right? Or if you are a mom who physically cannot breastfeed, you aren't producing the milk, you aren't gonna be like, oh my God, my kid is ruined, I'm a horrible mom, because it's like not that serious.
Yeah. And
so just wanted to clarify that.
And like you said, truth be told, there are a lot of women who do want to breastfeed and can't produce. So I don't think that makes them any less of a good mother.
And their kids less healthy.
But with that being said, I don't know. It is tough to accept that we are introducing formula. And I don't know why. I think the stigma that breast milk is better. So that kind of is stuck in my head. Yeah. And you've been doing it 3.5 months and you've been doing great. I know it hasn't always been easy.
I think what makes it difficult is like River has been thriving. Like he's put on so much weight. He's just such a healthy, happy baby that it's like, why stop? Like continue. And I'm not stopping. So I wanted to clarify that as well. But pumping is annoying. The breast pump, all the pieces, pumping enough to have a supply. And for me, since I'm not working and I'm home with him all the time, it's easy to just feed him. But then if I have to pump to save, if I need it, like when we went out yesterday, it's hard, right? It's like I can't really pump more than one bottle in a day. So I have to plan a few days in advance. And then that messes up the synchronization that I have with River. So my breast getting gorged in the middle of the night, like it's just uncomfortable. Or if I pump and I want to save it, but then he's hungry, I feel like my boobs are empty and he can't eat.
Or we went through that a few times where you did pump and it's just like he's wailing, crying, and I'm trying to warm up some breast milk, and a crying baby in front of you for 7 minutes while it's warming up. It might as well be an hour.
Yeah. Whereas if you have formula, you just put the powder in the water, shake it up.
So there are definitely benefits to it. I am slowly getting on board. This was only introduced, less than 24 hours ago. So listen, if you like it, I love it. Mm-hmm. I just want you to be mentally good with it, because I know that
I am. I feel like I know that it's supplemental. It's going to be for when we're recording the podcast and we have a sitter, when we want to go out, things like that. But I also know myself as a woman. I don't think I'm going to be okay if River becomes like super attached to the hip. Like, I can't go anywhere because he wants the breast. Like I have to worry about nursing. So I feel like introducing the formula now at almost 4 months, so that way he's not so attached to me, is something I need for my own mental health, because I 100% enjoyed being out for 4 hours with you and not being worried that like River was starving or stressed out or couldn't sleep without me. Like my mom was able to put him to bed just like we would.
I think on the other side of that, which is something you bring up, I feel like it's come up a few times this week, the bonding experience between me and River. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, fortunately, depending on how you look at it, the fact that you are breastfeeding, it just so happens that he has to be in your arms more often than not. Mm-hmm. Not only because I'm out to work and you're here, but also even when I
get home,
it's feeding time, or sometimes it's just for comfort. And he's getting used to you. And not to say that he doesn't know me, but it's different. So I think now that we're introducing formula, it allows me to take on more of that responsibility. I'm fortunate that you let me sleep through the night because I have work. But let's say a Friday into Saturday into Sunday, I can take over some of that responsibility.
Some of the night feedings.
You want to get a few extra drools in.
Yes, I definitely do. Just letting you know.
She's like, you weren't giving me permission. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it definitely is, because I haven't had a full night's sleep since December 19th. I keep saying that. And even then,
take a sip of your coffee.
At the end of the pregnancy, my full night's rest weren't even that restful, that comfortable, when you have a huge belly. So it's time.
I think the takeaway from this is do what's best for you and your family. Mm-hmm. Don't listen to outside opinions. At the end of the day, I don't give a fuck.
You give a fuck more than you want to give up when you want. You give a fuck more than you're pretending you don't give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck about the opinions of people. I give a fuck about, I want my kids to thrive. Okay. So in my head, I'm very honest and saying,
am I doing what's best?
Exactly. And in my head, breastfed babies are, that's the future president right there. Now he's going to be vice president because he got a little bit of formula.
No, well, it doesn't work that way. All right.
All right. I gotta find out what Elon Musk was getting.
Now, if next week I'm like, I gave up breastfeeding altogether, you'll be mad, right?
Well, no. I don't know. I love you. I love our family. And as long as everyone's happy, physically healthy, and most importantly mentally healthy, I am on board 1,000%.
And even me, like, as much as I pretend like I don't give a shit and I'm gonna do what I want, what's best for my family, like formula breast, River's next appointment is April 27th, and I'm like, I wish I would have just not given him formula until after that appointment. Like, I kind of wanted his pediatrician to be like, wow, you've only breastfed, good job, mom.
Because now the formula is going to get a little bit of the credit.
Yes. Like, oh yeah, you gave him formula, that's why he's doing so well. Like, versus like, it was me for all the way up
But
until this
I feel like
appointment.
the real ones, no.
And I'm still going to be like, we didn't introduce the formula up until April 9th. Like, I'm going to make sure she knows when I introduced it, because I'm still kind of attached to that idea of like,
It's an achievement.
yeah, it is an achievement. And I'm still proud of myself. But
Yeah.
it shows that I kind of do give a fuck more than I pretend.
Everyone
as
cares
well.
a fuck.
What else happened this week?
Oh, why we went out.
Oh, yes, duh.
Shout out to Kiara Luna. She had her book release party.
Yes.
And it was a party.
It was a party.
I've never been to a book release, but that was a party, you know.
Yes.
Her Dominican side definitely. Well, she's only Dominican, right?
Yeah, Travis was like, this is like a baby shower. And again, for our listeners, Dominican baby showers are different than like a typical baby shower. It's like food, drinks, dance floor type of night. And that's definitely what it was last night. It was so much fun. And we haven't been out in forever.
Yeah, I had 2-3 drinks.
Whoa.
Woo! I was feeling loopy.
I had to like pump and dump. I had to pump and throw away
She was
9
like,
ounces of
I had
milk.
vodka. I got to get rid of this breast milk.
Yes, because once in a while I have like a glass of wine or a beer, and I don't pump and dump my breast milk when I do that. I've done the research. I don't need anybody's opinion. But when I had vodka, I was like, oh no, I think I should pump and dump this time. I don't want to take the chance. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to her. Do we want to make the announcement?
Announcement about what?
The book.
Oh yeah, so we did get an extra copy of the book because we want to do a giveaway.
We got an autographed copy. So we're going to give away a copy on our Instagram. I don't know the details quite yet.
Yeah, we have to figure out how we want to do it. Probably add something else to the giveaway, not just the book. So we'll hold on to that for a little bit.
Coming soon.
Yes. And before we go on to Did You Know, just a reminder about our Patreon. A lot of people have questions. They're not sure what it is. Patreon is a platform for you to pay for additional content from your favorite creators, right? And it's not as complicated as it sounds. You download an app on your phone and it's like having another Instagram or another TikTok. It's like another app where all your subscriptions will be. And if we're your only subscriptions, you'll find our page there and all of the content that we post for that platform. And if you want to support us, but you can't really keep up with additional content, there is a $3 tier subscription that is just a donation to us so that we could continue to just provide these weekly podcast episodes.
And it doesn't mean that anything will change on our normal delivery to you with this content. It's just a little extra.
And it helps us because, you know, we don't get paid for this. So it's just helping us maintain our equipment and things that we need to make this a successful show.
The extra content that we have released so far, it's been a lot of fun. The people who have seen it are enjoying it a lot. We have a lot of ideas for upcoming things. So, you know, it's going to be ever evolving.
Absolutely. And I had a goal of having at least 20 in the first month. And right now we have 22.
In like 2 weeks.
Yeah. So we reached our goal for this month. But obviously we have much bigger goals going forward. I guess the next goal is reaching 50. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And we're going to leave the link in the description of this video as well.
Yep.
All right, Daddy, you have your Did You Know?
I do. Did you know if you wait until you're 23 to commit, you're less likely to get divorced? A 2014 University of North Carolina at Greensboro study found that American women who cohabitate or get married at age 18 have a 60% divorce rate, but women who wait until 23 to make either of those commitments have a divorce rate of around 30%. The longer couples waited to make that first serious commitment, cohabitation or marriage, the better their chances for marital success.
That makes absolute sense. We're at 18 years old. We're not really ready for that kind of commitment. And maybe, I'm not saying there's probably couples who have dated since they were that young, but deciding if marriage is for them should wait a little longer, especially in modern society.
I trying to imagine myself being married at 18.
Yeah.
Whew, that would be a shit show.
We always talk about like wishing we met sooner. And I feel like we met at the right time.
I still wish I met you sooner. I always come up with this hypothetical. It's like, all right, let's say I time traveled and I woke up, right? I woke up and I'm in my younger body and I have to come find you in the Bronx. And I walk up to you, like, what can I say to convince you that, listen, 10 years from now, whatever the case is, we're together, we're madly in love.
I'd be calling 911 like, get this fucking guy away from
Like,
me. It's crazy.
if I showed up to you while you were at New Paltz on the campus, I'm like, listen, I know it's kind of hard to believe. But then I also think about you not having Eli.
Yeah.
And that makes me sad. So fuck that hypothetical.
Definitely. I wonder if that correlation between waiting instead of 18 to 23, if that continues, right? Like, do people who marry at 27 have a lower divorce rate than those at 23? At 30, or is compared to those,
or is 23 the peak?
Is at the peak, like the ideal age to get married and have a lower divorce rate?
Yeah, I don't think there's any such thing as being too old, but there is such thing as being too young. I feel like there's a certain level of being naive at that age that I don't think it works well in a marriage.
And I feel like at any age, no matter the age, it's about getting married for the right reason, for each other. I feel like a lot of times people are getting married because it's what's expected of them from their families, or one partner is pressuring you, but you're not ready, or
the shotgun wedding.
What does that mean?
Like someone got pregnant.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're deciding to get married because two people genuinely love each other and genuinely have figured out that besides the love, other things in their lives match up and are meant to work together, that's a true indicator of the success of a marriage. Besides age, there's like so many other things that go with it. Does that make sense?
No, for sure. And even we're only 6 years in, and we're freshmen at this. You know, we have a lot of marriage to go to. I still feel pretty confident about giving advice here, but our advice is gonna evolve
because our experiences are gonna change our perspectives on things. And also, when we talk about the success of a marriage, we instantly think if you get a divorce, it wasn't a success. And I feel like that can be argued, right? Because even if, God forbid, knock on wood, right now you and I decided we didn't want to be together, these past 6 years, I wouldn't say were a failure. Like, we've grown so much together, learned so much about ourselves as individuals.
Yeah, so it's been some of the happiest times of my life. Obviously I wouldn't want it to end or whatever, but it doesn't take away from the happiness.
Mean we like, maybe I get it. Yes, the marriage is over, but it wasn't a waste of our time. Yeah. Even the things I've accomplished independent, like for me as an individual, I wouldn't have been able to do it outside of this marriage, outside of this union and this partnership.
Do you think that should be the takeaway even outside of marriage? Because, I know a lot of people who unfortunately stay in relationships just because you have that longevity. So it's like, well, we've been together 5 years, we've been together 10 years, might as well keep rocking. Like, what else is out there? But, really they're miserable.
Yeah.
But if they just kind of take that relationship for what it is, like a moment in time,
what it was,
yeah, a moment in time, and it served its purpose, and now you keep going. But it doesn't mean that it was a failure, because it could have done a lot of things for you. It made you the person you are at the end of it.
The failure would be staying even though you're not happy anymore. I think that's the true failure. Like, saying I'm staying for the kids, or I'm staying because it's already been X amount of time.
Yeah.
I think this is a perfect segue into our first topic. So our first topic is considered a media love because it is about relationships and it's about this new Netflix special series show.
It's called The Ultimatum.
The Ultimatum.
I am obsessed.
And I will be honest, when I saw the trailer, I was really excited. When we saw the first couple episodes, I was bored.
I was hooked.
Travis was like, this is so good. I was like,
and I never get like that. I don't know why. I'm just really invested in this show and these people.
I was like, oh, it's kind of boring. But then there was a turning point where I really liked it and I'm obsessed. So if you have not watched Ultimatum, the season finale has not dropped yet when this is released.
So this comes out. It'll be Wednesday.
But we are going to pretty much spoil what has happened so far. So if you want to skip to our next segment, this will be the chance if you plan on watching Ultimatum and you don't want to get spoiled.
And honestly, even though we're talking about spoilers, I think it's still, you could listen to our conversation and still watch it and enjoy it.
And enjoy it. Absolutely. Because honestly, the ultimatum, like the decisions haven't happened. So we can't spoil that part.
Yeah.
We are going to make predictions, right? So what is an ultimatum? Not the show, just what is an ultimatum?
Either you do this or this happens.
Right. So like if it were my job, it's like either you give me weekends off or I'm going to take this other job offer or I'm going to need this 10% raise or I'm going to have to start considering new jobs, right? It's an ultimatum. Like you have to grant this for me or something else is going to happen. So in the show Ultimatum, what is the ultimatum?
Either we get married or it's over.
Which, do you think in real life that that's like a healthy ultimatum to give someone?
No, but that shit happens a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely not healthy. But, what's that? You always hear the saying, why buy the cow when you're getting the milk for free? So some people see that, or a lot of women see themselves in that position where they're giving their man the experience of being in a marriage or those wifely duties or duty sounds weird, but
yeah, I know what you mean though.
And they want a marriage. I think that's the most important thing because I'll never judge anyone who's doing that and they're happy with their lives the way it is. Mm-hmm. But then there are women who want that extra step. They want to be your wife, but you're not committing.
Yeah.
But everything else is like we're married. Just that small little detail.
For me, the only reason I have a problem with it is because if I gave you an ultimatum and then that's the reason you married me, I'm going to feel like, well, he never wanted to really marry me.
But also with the ultimatum, it's, I get what you're saying, but it's also, you can leave. Like, yes, you are forcing someone's hand, but you also could force, as we see in the show, it can go the other way. I'm giving you an ultimatum, but this could potentially lead to us not being together.
Okay, so let's bring it to the show. So on the show is a little bit different. These couples are on here. They're giving their partner the ultimatum.
4 couples.
It's more in the beginning. It's 6 couples. But remember, 2 don't make it.
Yes.
But they give an ultimatum. But it's not like just, oh, Travis, marry me or it's over. And then he decides. No. What's happening here is now these 6 couples become 12 singles. And they get to date each other.
So they get a week of mingling with everyone as a single person.
As a single person. So all 12 of these people who form 6 distinct relationships are now kind of dating. At the end of this first week, they pick a new partner.
To have a mock marriage.
Yeah, so a trial marriage. They move in together for 3 weeks. So this is where it gets crazy. So we have couples Zay and Ray, who Ray gives the ultimatum to Zay. Ray is the girl. She gives Zay the ultimatum. She's like, I want to get married. He's like, I'm not ready. And the dynamic there is he's kind of in the club scene.
He's in these streets.
He's like a party promoter. He just doesn't see the point. But then we notice Ray is very
reserved.
It's difficult for her to express herself emotionally. But how does she try to express her love?
Ooh, she likes to, I was going to try to say something funny. Sex.
Yeah.
Sex. It all comes back to sex.
Yeah.
And I caught this pretty early where, Zay was being pretty expressive about something, and she kind of hushed him up by giving him the cheeks.
Yeah, like she kind of, that's her way of putting a Band-Aid
Pacifier.
on problems. Yes, like, well, let's just, if we're having good sex, then everything else doesn't matter. Like, we could fix it with sex. That happens so much in so many relationships.
I think we've discussed this on the podcast. There's been times me and you have been in a disagreement, and we're still very much in it.
Like, it hasn't been resolved.
But, we're physically attracted to one another, and we'll still have sex.
And then I'm like,
you're like mid stroke, Stephanie's like, this doesn't fix anything. But turn me over.
Yeah, so it's okay. Like, sex feels great, and there's times when it happens, even if you haven't resolved the problem. But if it's a pattern, and you're not resolving your issues because you're just having sex to, forget about it, it's not. That's one couple. Then we have Madeline and Colby. Colby is the guy, he gave the girl the ultimatum, and he was 100% ready. He talks about Madeline like he's obsessed with her. He bamboozled us.
You think he bamboozled us?
Yeah, because I was on his side. Like, I'm like, oh my God, he's such a good guy. Madeline seems like just wants to explore different men, which is okay. I'm not judging anybody for that. But then remember when he told the girl, like, I'm not attracted to you. And she was like, he's a horrible person. I was like, no, he just doesn't find you attractive, but he kind of is a horrible person.
Yeah, so there's things that have come up that would make me say that now. But at that time, I just thought him to be honest. So basically, in the dating process of figuring out who you want to go on this trial or mock marriage with, you're mingling conversations. You call them mini dates. It's really speed dating. One of the girls had interest in him, and he was very honest and said, I'm not attracted to you.
Yeah.
That's fine. You can tell. I don't think there's any way to say that where it kind of softens the blow. No one wants to hear that, especially if you have interest in the person.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of people, they'll look at me and be like, ooh, Travis. But if I have no interest in them, it's not going to hurt my ego because I wasn't putting myself out there. She put herself out there. He said that. And then now she thinks he's like this big asshole. At that moment, I didn't think he was. Things that happened weeks later, now I'm like, he's an asshole. But
that makes me feel like the producers aren't showing us everything that happened, all the conversations that they had, right? And even in him telling her that, he could have avoided saying that, right? They had conversations, and she was very interested in money and talking about how her partner's supposed to have more money than her and all this stuff. He could have led with that as the reason why he didn't want to date her. Just to, not hurt her feelings. I feel like even myself, I wouldn't necessarily say, I'm not attracted to you. Like, unless that was the only reason.
Yeah.
There were other things he could have said to not hurt her feelings.
I agree. But she's also a little weird, but
we just didn't really like her. That's what it was. So we were like, what are you talking about?
If it were anyone else, I'd have
yeah,
been
we were like, oh my God, how dare you say that to her?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Then we have Jake and April, who seem like a super solid couple, but April's like obsessed with...
She's a little eccentric.
Yes, she's very talkative. And she's obsessed with wanting to get married, have kids, buy a house. Like, she wants all of that to happen like right away.
She's actually right at the perfect age to get married, according to my Did You Know?
According to Did You Know, which was the wheels were turning because all of these people, this whole cast, they're like under 25. They're like 23, 24, 25, maybe 26. Yeah. So they're all super young, and they've already given their partners this ultimatum. Right? Which sounds crazy, but I was 25 when I married you. So it's like, are they really crazy? Is it far-fetched? Exactly. So I was like, no wonder. Jake was in the Marine
Corps.
Yeah, he just kind of isn't ready to make that step yet. He loves her to death, but he doesn't want to take that step. Then there's Shanique and Randall. Randall and Shanique seem like the perfect couple. She's like Michelle
I
Obama,
was
her
gonna
friends
say.
call her.
Very polished.
Yes, but Randall says that she's a big spender and that for her, the wedding is more so the glam of it.
The status.
The status.
The achievement.
Yes, like getting the ring and having this big wedding versus like wanting the marriage, which makes sense.
You know, I feel like they brought that up in the beginning, but it hasn't been a common theme throughout the episodes.
Yeah, he kind of actually admitted that he talks so much about the finances as an excuse. But it's probably deeper than that. There's more of a reason why he doesn't want to get married, and he's using that as the excuse.
Yeah, that's just a little more socially acceptable. So everyone will be like,
okay,
I guess it makes
finances.
sense.
We should wait. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Exactly. But he doesn't like the way she communicates. So these 4 couples are the ones who end up throughout the whole experiment, and they mix and mingle. Zay, the party promoter, he ends up with Shanique, the polished Michelle Obama. And that reveals, like, in the mixing of the couples, they're kind of realizing what they're missing from their partner and what their partner's expecting from them. So it's kind of like they're getting each other to see how they can be better in their original relationships, right? Which is fucking crazy. But things get a little spicy. Extra touching and hugging and kissing is kind of spicy.
Honestly, that's not even the crazy part to me. The crazy part is while they're in this 3-week experiment, they're meeting up with these other couples and having like brunch and coming to the brunch as a newly formed couple.
Which is what made me like the show.
Yeah.
So when the couples were mixed and they were living together, it felt boring because they're like being so politically correct and trying to talk about their other relationships. And I was like, this is boring. But then when they would meet up and now you're seeing this other girl talk about your man, that's when it got interesting. And Madeline paired with Randall, which is Michelle Obama's boyfriend.
Yeah.
And she's so attracted to him and she's so honest about it. She doesn't sugarcoat it.
Even when they were in the dating phase, like she was locked in on Randall.
Yeah, she was like, he's so hot. Like, oh my God, which is crazy. April is obsessed with her boyfriend. And she ends up with Colby, and not because they picked each other. The people they originally picked decided not to continue with the experiment. So they just kind of picked each other so that their partners could go on in the experiment. So it was weird as fuck. Oh my God. I'm like remembering things as I'm talking about it, and I'm like, this shit is fucking crazy. Ray ends up breaking up with Zay, her original boyfriend, and now she's single. And I'm hoping and praying that Jake wants to be with her.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Or even if he doesn't want to be with her, I don't think he should be with April.
Yeah. I think I said that. I said, I don't think they should all of a sudden want to be married, but they can explore a relationship.
Yes.
They do. They're very similar. And, you know, this isn't one of the cases where opposites attract because it's almost like they're dating each other.
But Zay is definitely too aggressive to be with her.
To be with Ray.
This is another thing we should talk about. Zay had a very rough childhood. And, you know, we have spoken about how looking back into our childhood has helped us in our relationship, right? It helps us give each other grace about the ways we deal with emotions, the ways we share love, we accept love, we give love. But we use that as a reflection tool and as a way to help us be better for each other, not as a crutch.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's like, I did this because my mom didn't.
So it's not like I'm so disrespectful because I had a shitty childhood and that's just that.
Mm-hmm.
It's more so like I tend to stonewall because when I was a kid, no one ever addressed their emotions. Let's fix that. You know what I'm saying? Zay has kind of repeatedly brought up his childhood as an excuse. And his trial wife kind of brings that up. Like,
Yeah.
you're using this as a crutch. And he got so upset.
Yeah, he's very defensive, but he is like the perfect example of someone who has some trauma that they need to address. And you know how we always say you got to go see the lady. He needs to see the lady and the guy because he really has some unresolved trauma, and it's spilling over into his relationship.
Yeah, and he clearly loves his girlfriend, but then he self-destructs.
You know what I like a lot about him is that he, like I said, he's not the most intelligent sounding person, but he knows how to express himself. And if you just take a second to, you could tell he's working out his thoughts as he's saying it, but it makes perfect sense.
So he's not super articulate, is what you're trying to say, but he's expressing himself. Yes,
he's definitely in tune with his feelings.
But then he self-sabotages, right? Because he loves his girl so much. He has this rough childhood, but then he went out till 8 a.m. because he was mad.
I haven't done 8 a.m. ever.
Like, what?
Especially in a relationship.
It's one thing to be like, I need to blow off some steam. I'm going to go have a drink or I'm going out. But no one goes out to 8 a.m. unless they're staying somewhere else. Where are you sleeping? Who were you with till 8 a.m? That's like a deal breaker for me. It's a non-negotiable for me.
So, yeah, show's crazy. I can't wait for the finale. Do you think, we kind of talked about this, but do you think an ultimatum is something more people need?
I don't know, because it depends on what we're talking about. Because I feel like even in our relationship, we've kind of unofficially given each other ultimatums, non-negotiables, setting boundaries, right? I remember yesterday at Kiara's event, someone asked, what if I really think my partner and I really need therapy, but they just refuse? Well, then you have to set a boundary. If you really truly feel like y'all need therapy and your partner just refuses, what is that telling you?
And she said that's their answer.
That's their answer. So that's kind of an ultimatum. It's like therapy or this is over. And it's not officially said that way, but if you're saying our relationship is struggling, therapy might fix it. If you don't want to get therapy, then you're kind of, putting the nail on that coffin. That's kind of an ultimatum without it being stated as an ultimatum.
Yeah, I get that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Even with myself, like a lot of who I was, in terms of how I expressed my love or my emotions and stuff, were a bit aggressive. And I knew that if I continue to be aggressive and hurtful in my language and my words, we couldn't make it for far, right? So in my mind, I knew that was an ultimatum. Like, if I don't tone it the fuck down, Travis isn't going to want to be here with me. So in a sense, that's an ultimatum, right?
So we all give our partners ultimatums without maybe being so direct.
It's setting boundaries, right? Just like I don't think anyone should have to wait forever and ever and ever for a marriage if that's what they want. You know what I'm saying? So ultimatums, in a sense, are like setting boundaries.
Yeah.
As long as they're realistic. Like, you can't set an ultimatum like, I'm thinking of something petty that a lot of couples deal with, like video games. Like, no, you can't ever play video games ever. But then it's like, if they're playing until 6 a.m. every night and it's affecting how they treat you in the relationship, is affecting them going to work, then that's different. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I guess it all depends. So on the remaining couples, who do you think is going to end up together?
Hot take.
Uh-huh.
I think they're all going to stay with each other.
With their original partners?
Yeah. Everyone's going to stay together. And this would have just been a eye-opening experience for all of them. And even Ray and Zay, I think they'll get back together. I'm not saying like there's a difference between who I want to be and
okay, what's gonna happen.
And I just think that there's too much history to And I'm not saying you can't build something in 3 weeks because obviously, we had the accelerated program.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think there's just too much there. What about you?
I think so. I'm gonna say what I want to happen.
Okay.
Not what might happen, because I don't want Shanique Michelle Obama to end up with Randall.
Okay.
Like, I feel like they get too petty with each other. Well, mostly Shanique with him, and she has unrealistic expectations. Like, she's the type that she runs and slams the door, but she's waiting behind the door because she wants him to come follow her. That's petty and immature. They're on this experiment, which she signed them up for, and she wanted him to have no attraction to this girl and be begging her.
I think she said, I wanted you to be sitting in a corner missing me.
Missing me. Like, no. Like, absolutely not. She didn't realize what she was actually signing up for. She even was hoping he would talk negatively about the girl he was just living with for 3 years. Like
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Yes. Like, she was hoping, like, please say something bad about her. Like, I don't know. I don't want them to stay together, but I don't want Randall to be with Madeline either.
Okay. So you just think they should go their separate ways?
They should go their separate ways. Colby and Madeline, he is too narcissistic, has no accountability. Yeah. I hope they break up.
Okay.
Zay and Ray, again, I think they could have made a good couple, but his unresolved trauma has pushed her to shut down. We talk so much about how she doesn't express herself, but he gets so upset and so, he's 6'2", and honestly, I don't like when men are raising their voice at me, let alone someone who's big and intimidating.
Even watching it through the TV, it's like, whoa, I want to be like, calm down. Like, even with the cursing.
And he even was speaking that way to her in front of her mom.
That's very telling.
It's to the point where they're too... And then Ray also said petty things, right? It's too far gone.
Yeah.
I think they have very little respect for each other. And when you're constantly doing that back and forth and arguing about little things, it's time for it to be done.
I agree.
And then I would really like to see Ray and Jake at least start dating.
Give it a try.
I think April also did the ultimatum because she was so confident. She was like, I want him to see that there's nothing out there and that he's going to come running back to me because I'm the best person in the world. But she's a nagger. She like drains his fucking life. And I think his mom likes her because it's like having another mom.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's stability.
Yeah, it's not really because...
Like, she sees that her son is so in love and...
No.
Yeah.
She sees like, this is someone who's gonna take care of him in a maternal way, not in a happy, lovingly relationship.
Passion.
Yes. Which is toxic as fuck.
And I think it's okay to want stability for your kids, but you should also want your kids to be madly in love and healthy. And
not constantly fighting. Like, they literally argue every single day. Like, I would not want my kids to be with a partner that they're constantly arguing with.
And especially I'm aware of it, because then that's very telling in itself, because, that means you can't even fake the funk around me.
Exactly. Exactly.
The ultimatum.
So let's see what happens on Wednesday.
Yes. I'm excited.
I'm a little nervous about this next topic.
Why?
Because when I saw the article, I thought it was like clickbait, right? So it was an article by the New York Post, which is a shady news like resource at this point. They kind of post wild shit, crazy shit. So I was like, should I even give it my attention, knowing how they are? But when I opened the article, it wasn't like a New York Post reporter. It was an opinion piece written by a Stanford University professor.
Gotcha.
So now I'm like, wait, let me see, because this isn't just like some news reporter. This is a Stanford University professor, right? So the title of the New York Post article is why more Black women should consider marrying white men.
I knew what you were going to say, and my heart still went like...
Which is why I'm so scared to talk about it, because I don't want to say anything that's misconstrued. Be careful how you create these reels, because you ain't getting me dragged on TikTok, okay? So my immediate thought was, what the fuck? Who's writing these articles for the New York Times? Like, this is so racist, and what the fuck? When I read the article and I did some research on the person who wrote it, they wrote a book. It was 10 years ago, though, which makes it a little bit but
it's a little outdated information.
But the book is called Is Marriage for White People? How the African American Marriage Decline Affects Everyone. So it wasn't just a random piece. It felt like it because they were using photos of Ketanji Brown Jackson, the Supreme Court Justice. She's married to a white man. Kamala Harris is married to a white man. So I thought they were just reaching and just sensationalizing that and kind of trying to prove a point, which could be racist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, all these successful Black women married white men because white men are better, right? That's what I thought, and I was like appalled. In reading a little bit more about who this man is, he was using data and research, and basically the consensus is there are less eligible men for successful Black women to marry, right? So their options turn to, and the reason this is because of the institutionalized racism in our country, right? The systemic racism in our country. But it leaves Black women with a choice to either marry down or marry out. And then that's the dilemma.
Okay.
Are you? What, I feel like your wheels are turning.
I'll let you. I'm getting myself together. Keep going.
Oh my God, this is so hard to talk about because I'm scared of like saying something that sounds fucking nuts. But in the data that he used to write his opinion and theory, Black women are the only racial group and subcategory. So they basically were looking at Black women, white women, Hispanic women, other, Black men, white men, Hispanic men, other. Black women are the only ones that have a higher divorce rate than a marriage rate across all groups. And then they compare education status and all this other stuff. And marriage is correlated with a whole bunch of other things, right? So within the Black community, there's a higher rate of abortions, sexually transmitted diseases, and all these other things that they're correlating directly to marriage. So should Black women be more open to marrying outside of their race? And they're also pointing out that Black men don't have as much of they're not as against it as Black women. Black men marry outside of their race at a much higher rate.
So it sounds like to me that it's basically saying that Black women are holding on to this idea of the Black family more than Black men.
Yes.
Do you agree?
So I have a couple of different opinions on this.
Or
right?
how important was it to you for you to date a Black man or marry a Black man?
I just felt like because of the way I grew up, I never had any white friends all through childhood. I grew up in an area where everyone was Latino or Black. And then I just felt like I couldn't relate to a white man because of the way I grew up, right? So for me, my opinion isn't tied to keeping a Black family. Is more so being able to relate and connect to someone that I don't think was possible just because of our life experiences, right? But I do feel that you should be free to date, marry and love whoever you want.
Yeah.
And if you are holding on to, I have to just maintain the Black family, or vice versa, I can't have biracial kids, like I gotta marry a white woman, that's toxic as fuck. It's kind of limiting. It's problematic in its own right.
So for me, the only problem when it comes to dating are people who say, I can't date that, or I can't date a Black person, I can't date a white person, whatever. I do believe that, the Black family and keeping the Black family together is very important. But like this article is trying to say, at what point do you kind of put yourself first? You're kind of just trying to hold on to this idea that you're the only one fighting for.
Yeah.
I personally, in my dating experience, I'm attracted to women and all shades, all colors. And, the person that I fell most madly in love with ends up being you. Had nothing to do with anything other than you. I mean, you being Afro-Latina definitely is what makes you you.
Yeah, it's part of my identity and how I show up.
But it wasn't like, all right, check for me. If that makes sense. I've told you all my experience with dating like white women, and I guess one in particular kind of put a bad taste in my mouth when I had to keep it a secret because I'm assuming because I was Black. I don't know any other reason. I don't think I'm ugly. I wasn't, there wasn't anything about me that I felt like I should have been kept a secret for.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the only thing I have a problem with is when people say, I won't even give that person a try because of their skin color. Because you could definitely be blocking your blessings.
Yeah. There's this, I wanted to read like a little part of like this review. It says, based on the best available research to trace the Black marriage decline's far-reaching consequences, including the disproportionate likelihood of abortion, sexually transmitted diseases, single parenthood, same-sex relationships, polygamous relationships, and celibacy among Black women. So I think in the research is kind of trying to find a correlation between marriage, Black women being married, and all these other things, right? It says the book centers on the experiences not of men or of the poor, because there's always a lot of research about Black men, or when it comes to, what's the word? Class, basically, when it comes to marriage, but those of Black women who have surged ahead, even as Black men have fallen behind. There's a story that has not been told. Empirical evidence documents its social significance, but its meaning emerges through stories drawn from the lives of women across the nation.
That just sounds like to me like we have a bigger problem than, they're basically saying Black women are getting more professionally ahead than Black men, right? Let's address that problem.
Exactly.
Why should the answer be, well, I guess you just have to date someone on the same level with you, and statistically that just happens to be white men, Asian men, whatever the case is. Fuck that. Let's fix the problem. It's kind of like when we're always talking about, I was having a conversation with a coworker recently about like the homeless problem we have. And someone was saying, well, they need to move them all somewhere. And we're both looking at each other and like, but that doesn't fix the problem. You're moving the problem, but that doesn't fix the problem how they ended up homeless. That's a whole nother episode. But it's back to my point where why are Black men not as far ahead or on the same level?
Yeah.
Help me. help me understand, because I don't.
Systemic
I feel
racism.
like we're sending the wrong message, and it's not to say that you can't fall in love with a white person.
Yeah.
That's not the point. The point is the reason you fall in love with that white person should be for positive things, because this person is a good person. They treat me well. We have the same views on things. They make me laugh. They're my best friend. Da, 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 da. All these beautiful things, but not because, well, if I date, I was gonna say like a typical black name, but if I date if I date Tyrone, my life's gonna be a little bit harder than if I date Billy.
Yeah. And you feel like that is the problem.
That's the problem. That's what the focus should be on. I don't think, black women are strong as fuck.
Yeah.
And
so there's this in the opinion piece, he says, it's true that race can provide a basis of compatibility. So that's kind of what I was saying. Like, I don't think I could be very compatible with a white person just because of our life experiences. But race itself cannot solely sustain a relationship, which is true, because then that means I could have a good marriage with any Latino or any black man ever just because of that. No. There are many things to base compatibility on, not just race. Does that make sense?
100%.
And he's basically saying, like, when black women date out, they kind of have a sense of guilt. Like, they have to apologize for it, as if they're doing something wrong to, that. It ties to what we were talking about with the Will and Jada thing, like that you feel responsible. Like, for example, Will smacking Chris Rock. Everybody's like, oh my God, making black people look X, Y, and Z. Black women tend to have that sense of guilt that if they marry outside of their race, they're proving like, oh, you see, you shouldn't date black men. Not even black women want to marry black men. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Like that guilt.
So I think the common theme on this podcast, if you've been watching since episode 1, is I'm open to changing my views on things, growth. I'll be the first to admit that there's this pretty popular DJ out here in New York, and she came out as being pregnant and like newly engaged to this white guy. And I loved this girl, this woman. And I was like, really? You ended up with this white boy? I felt the way. I was like, unfollow. And it's not that I'm racist, but to me, I was like, she's like top tier woman.
She also feels like a part of the culture in a way.
A culture I love, like hip hop, fashion, streetwear, all those things. And like she was like the epitome of it. And I was like, damn, this guy, he jokingly, the picture that she posted with him, that when they came out, if you're in the sneaker culture, Jordan 1 mids are like, we laugh at those. No one really wears mids. It's like maybe kids will wear mids, teenagers, they don't know any better. But us real sneakerheads, we know, stay away from mids. That's a no-no. And of course, her her fiance, I think, was wearing mids. So it's like, not only
and
is
he's corny.
he's white, but he's wearing mids. So I was just like, what are we doing here? But the Travis sitting in front of you now, and even working through my thoughts now, he probably checked off all those boxes that she was missing in dating black men.
And not because he's white.
Not because he's white.
Of who he is. Their compatibility is matched on so many other things besides race.
I feel bad that I even
thought that at one point. But we,
jokes aside, like I'm always here for the jokes. Y'all know me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it wasn't only me, because I remember very clearly when it came out, like she was trending.
You know what this reminds me of? Serena Williams, her husband. What's her husband's name again?
Forget, but I know he's like he's the founder of Reddit.
Reddit,
but he's no longer. I mean, he founded Reddit, but he's moved on to other things.
He's rich as hell and he's white. So when she
was also dating. She's dated like Drake.
Hold
Common.
on, though. Wait, let me get to my point. When she announced she was dating him, everybody was like, "Oh my God, our black queen, and she's with this white guy." Right?
I know what you're gonna say.
But when she was tied to other black men in the culture, they would say, she's so manly. She's ugly. People felt like she wasn't worthy enough to date certain black men. Like, she was tied to Drake and I don't know who else.
Let me tell you how big of a Drake fan I am.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think like I don't find her. I think she's beautiful, but I'm not attracted to her.
Yeah.
I feel like the two are different.
Yeah.
But when Drake was messing with her, I was like, I kind of see it.
Because you love Drake so much. You're just
I was like, I gotta, change my mind on this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
But you get what I'm saying.
I heard that narrative going around.
It's like, oh, first she's too manly, she's too athletic, she's not, society's version of beautiful, right? She doesn't have these Western ideals of beauty. And it's a problem when other black men in the culture want to date her. But now that she's found someone she's compatible with, oh, she's a sellout.
Yeah.
Now she's our beautiful black queen.
The black family.
Right? Like, now she got to worry about that. But nobody was coming to her defense. Well, people were, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a tough topic, and I don't know if clearly I do see the value in the black family. What I don't agree with is the pressure being put on black women to have the weight of the world to maintain it at all cost.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel as long as, one thing I would say that I'm a very strong advocate for is, like, if you are going to date outside of your race, don't allow your partner to kind of be racist. First of all, have all these microaggressions. I've seen situations where the partner is like, you're not like all other black girls. Like, you're different. That's why I like you. And then being okay with that.
Yeah, I think the most important thing about dating outside your race, especially if you're a black woman dating a white man, that white man better be willing to do the research to know what the fuck is going on, like the state of the world.
Why do you say especially black women with white men? You don't think it applies the other way around?
I meant especially like black to white, not that it's a woman to a...
Oh, okay. Okay.
That your white partner
yes
needs to know what's going on, the state of the world, the reality of being pulled over by the police, and just a bunch
especially because y'all gonna raise black kids.
Exactly. So there's a lot more work into being in a black and white relationship because you're going to be raising black kids. You're going to be sending black babies out into the world. How do you deal with that? You can't raise your kids in a bubble. There's there's some hard truths you have to deal with.
This is a loaded topic, and I feel,
and what I want us to do, maybe down the line, is revisit this with someone who is dating someone, a white person, or just someone outside of their race. I'll be curious to see, like, what was it about them.
Yeah, I feel like usually what happens is compatibility. Like, it just works on so many different levels. Unfortunately, sometimes it's wanting to distance yourself from your culture. That's when it's sad and, like, disappointing, and not because of the way it affects the entire black community, but how it affects you as a person and as an individual. If you're with someone because their whiteness makes you feel better about yourself,
like a status,
then that's a problem.
For sure. I feel like we could keep going. There's so much. There's so many levels to this.
Yeah.
But I think we scratched the surface pretty well.
I was just afraid because my opinion isn't, oh, this is fucking crazy. It's more so like, wait, where is this information coming from? Why? Like, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the data. How does this affect the black community, but also individuals, right? I'm tired of black women being responsible for upholding the entire black community.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And no one group of people should have to hold the weight in this case, black women holding it down for black women and men.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, we can all equally do our part.
Yeah. It was just very clickbaity. And then
Yeah, it worked.
the articles had all these like black women that were married to white men, like in popular culture. So I was like, oh, what are they getting at here? What are they trying to say? I feel, this reminds me, like, I feel like it was so important for the culture that Obama had a black wife. Like, that was like very important. We were like, yes.
Yeah, because it says you can reach that level. You know, being the president is like, that's it. There's nothing higher. Although, you know, if you know politics, you know that the president is not really the one even running the show. But
yeah, you need the house and everything on your side. But,
you know, the way it looks, the president is the top level. So the fact that he got to that point with a black woman,
it was like, yes.
He did it. He did it right. He did it right.
But it also pushes that narrative that that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
That's the only way to do it right.
Yeah. We're evolving. We're
Do you have a just a tip?
Just a tip. That's funny. My just a tip is, if you do end up dating someone outside your race, just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. And
don't let little racist jokes, little things slide. Don't let them stroke your ego by making you feel like you're the exception to your race or your culture.
Make sure they're not fetishizing you.
Yep. And I'm will be the first to admit, like, growing up, if a guy told me, like, I know for me personally, it was like this distinction between being Dominican and being black, as if they were two things that couldn't be true at once. Like, I didn't initially identify as a black woman because I thought that was just one thing. But I remember if a guy told me, oh, I thought you were black, but oh yeah, but you have such long, pretty hair. Like, that would stroke my ego, which now I would slap the shit out of somebody if they told me something like that. You know what I mean?
I mean, you wouldn't slap anyone, but...
No, not anymore. Not anymore. No, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I would be 100% turned off, disgusted by that. It's about growth. It's about evolving. It's about loving yourself more. Because if I didn't have a little bit more self-love, I would still need those strokes of my ego from disgusting men. But growth. Thank you.
Yeah, we're here.
We're here.
We're better for it.
My just a tip is... be careful with your ultimatums. Be careful what you wish for. And if you have to push someone to the edge to do something for you, you might not be happy when they do it because it's going to feel like you forced their hand. You know?
But what do we know?
You know?
Baby?
Daddy?
Do you still like me?
I do still like you.
As a black man?
I hope our audience still likes me. I'm scared. These topics are so hard to talk about.
I think we handled it properly, but you know, we'll figure it out.
Travis is gonna make me out to be horrible on these TikToks.
I'm just gonna put "I hate white people" like as a clip.
I hate you.
Peace, y'all.